Hello. Hello, I'm Mariam Mashiri. This is the Iran War Today, our daily briefing, bringing you up to date with all you need to know on day 97 of the US-Israel war with Iran. Well, let's start with some of today's key developments. Hezbollah rejects a renewed ceasefire deal between Israel and Lebanon, saying they won't stop attacks on Israel as long as strikes on Lebanon continue. CCTV captures the moment an explosion rocked southern Lebanon early on Thursday, as several Israeli strikes are reported despite diplomatic talks. A Serbian UN peacekeeper has died and 2 Spanish blue helmets injured in Lebanon after their UN position in the southeast of the country was attacked on Wednesday by mortar fire. And the US House of Representatives passes a measure directing the White House to withdraw US forces from around Iran or seek congressional approval to continue the war. But let's start with Israel and Lebanon. The Lebanese president has described a US-brokered ceasefire as the last chance for meaningful peace in his country. The talks between the US, Israel and Lebanon, which took place yesterday, renewed the truce agreed in April. But the terms have been rejected today by the Iran-backed group Hezbollah. They are Lebanon's most powerful political and military group, designated a terrorist organisation by the UK and many other countries. Well, today, their leader said, despite the agreement, as long as Lebanese towns remain under threat, so will northern Israel. Well, in recent weeks, Israel has occupied southern Lebanon and IDF troops have been pushing further north. Hezbollah have, in turn, been firing drones at northern Israel. The ceasefire agreement requires Hezbollah to stop all firing and for Israel to withdraw south of the Litani River. Our correspondent John Subworth is in Beirut and sent this update on the view of many people there.
Well, this is the Dahir neighbourhood of Beirut, part of the southern suburbs and a stronghold of Hezbollah support. You can see the homes and businesses behind me, but you can also see the scars of war that litter this neighbourhood. This was, until a few weeks ago, a 5 or 6 story apartment building brought down in an Israeli airstrike. And if you listen very carefully, above the noise of the traffic, you can hear the Israeli surveillance drones still up in the skies, as it has been now every day for months. This is a ceasefire deal, I think, that is being worked out for all sides more in hope than in expectation. For the Israelis, the scepticism will come from the fact that it is contingent upon Hezbollah stopping the firing of its rockets and drones over Israel's border, something difficult to achieve despite months of war. And it's also...
Apologies for that. Let's cross live now to Washington and speak to our Middle East correspondent, Sebastian Usher, who is there. And Sebastian, first of all, bring us up to date with where we are in terms of this latest reaction to the announcement of the agreement in Israel.
Well, in Israel, I mean, the reaction has been mixed, I think one could say. Reports in the Israeli media here this evening say that the cabinet is due to meet. There's some opposition from some ministers who want clarification over how this will work, how the Lebanese army, which is meant to take over some positions that Hezbollah has been holding, how that will work and how that will actually ensure security for the north of Israel, which is the key as far as both the Israeli public and the Israeli government is concerned. The Israeli Defense Minister, Israel Katz, said earlier today that military operations by Israel in the south of Lebanon would continue. There'd be no withdrawal as things stand at the moment. I think the terms of this very partial ceasefire that President Trump ensured came in a few days ago, when there looked like a danger of escalation, that Israel would not attack the southern suburbs of Beirut, where John Subworth was in that report, and that Hezbollah was not supposed to attack communities in the north of Israel. That's held to some extent, though not completely. On the far right, Itamar Ben-Gvir, the National Security Minister here, he's issued, as one would expect, quite a fiery statement saying that it's just a pipe dream, this idea of a ceasefire. The opposition in Israel has not, in this regard, this particular ceasefire at the moment, but previously has essentially criticised the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for not living up to his promises. I mean, essentially, Mr. Netanyahu said that this time, course, there have been many other conflicts with Hezbollah in the past, but this time he will ensure that Hezbollah is eliminated as far as its threat is concerned. Its ability to attack Israel will be completely halted. And of course, for ceasefire at the moment, as far as many Israelis are concerned, as far as the Israeli opposition is concerned, and remember that there's a general election due to take place, so there's a political element in this as well, saying, well, that's not what's happened. This ceasefire doesn't ensure that as things stand at the moment. It's a wish and a prayer, and Mr. Netanyahu has not done what he said he would do. There was a very small protest as well outside the headquarters of Likud, the Mr. Netanyahu's party, the main party in the governing coalition here, of family members of reservists, bereaved families, some of the soldiers who are serving at the moment in Lebanon, saying that they want a ceasefire to hold. They don't want another Lebanese quagmire, as they would see it, as Israel became involved in the late 1990s, to happen again. So there are a range of opinions, both politically and amongst the public here. I think for now there is a sense that this ceasefire is very much just a hope, and the communities in the north of Israel certainly don't feel that their problems, their issues have come to an end.
Sebastian, thank you. Well, we've heard renewed optimism, haven't we, from the United States President that a deal could soon be reached between the US and Iran, with suggestions from Donald Trump that Iran's new supreme leader, who hasn't been seen in public since the start of the war, is now playing a role in these negotiations. Well, reports from Iranian negotiators have suggested they're seeking an end to the Israel-Lebanon conflict as part of a deal between the US and Iran. But with ongoing attacks between the IDF and Hezbollah, Donald Trump now says he's looking to separate the two issues.
It's a very different kind of a thing. We actually spoke with Hezbollah for the first time ever. We didn't know they spoke. And they agreed yesterday they're not going to shoot. Israel's not going to shoot. We're just going to see. But I'd like to separate it. I'd like to have it a separate thing because it is separate.
Well, Siavash Ardalan from BBC Persian is here in the studio with me. And on that point, Siavash, about trying to separate the US deal from the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, how is that likely to go down in Tehran? Badly, I guess.
Absolutely. President Trump likes to separate it, but I don't think they will be separated. He himself was the one who intervened, calling Benjamin Netanyahu, asking him for that ceasefire, and also asking Hezbollah. Iran, look, it cannot be seen to be going soft on the Lebanese war. It cannot be seen to be abandoning its main ally, Hezbollah. So I don't think Iran will accept this. This has been part of the memorandum of understanding as soon as it gets signed by the both sides, that a ceasefire will apply to all regions in the Middle East. A violation of one is a violation of the other. So it's very unlikely, and people inside Iran also would not let the government go soft on this as well. We saw it in the threat delivered by the IRGC just four days ago, I think if it was, that if Israel continues its attacks in Lebanon, that Iran might fire missiles again to northern Israel. It warned the residents of northern Israel to evacuate. Very harsh rhetoric, and kind of threatening language. It didn't carry out this threat, but it just goes to show how Iran views the Hezbollah issue as part of this equation.
And what about this talk about the Supreme Leader being involved in negotiations? We've heard that from Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. We've heard it from the US President. What more do we know? Is he involved in negotiations?
We don't know. I mean, some people are still questioning whether he's even alive, but we've heard a lot of media reports on the back of these statements that he has become much more involved in negotiations. And we're seeing it also domestically on issues not relating to negotiations, that he sends messages on different occasions on Iran's domestic political calendar. But we think he's actively involved. He speaks, and the only reason why he has not been seen in public, from what we understand from our sources, is just a purely security issue. They are just worried that any kind of image or any kind of recent photo that might be published of him might be able to be tracked by the Israelis or the Americans. There is such level of mistrust and skepticism in Iran over the intentions of the US and Israel that they think, even when the US talks of the need to achieve a a memorandum of understanding or an agreement quickly, Iran sees that as a way to, try to force Iranians to expedite their communications, somehow to identify where they are, and then to try to decapitate the leadership. So that's why he's not being seen. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yes, from what we hear, he is very much involved in these negotiations.
Okay. Interesting. Siavash, thank you. Well, Donald Trump has attacked a group of Republican lawmakers for backing a Democrat-led vote in the US House of Representatives to force the withdrawal of US forces immediately from around Iran or seek congressional approval to continue operations. In a post on Truth Social, the president called the move unpatriotic and said those who voted for the bill should be ashamed of themselves. Well, let's go live to Washington and speak to our chief North America correspondent, Gary O'Donoghue. And Gary, how much could this actually limit the US operation in Iran?
To be honest, not a lot, I think. I mean, this is a slightly performative vote in the House of Representatives. Democrats would, of course, reject that idea, but the chances of a resolution getting through both the House and the Senate and then not being vetoed by the president, to that extent, his idea or his words that this is meaningless has some kind of resonance to it. He could simply stop it and there really wouldn't be a two-thirds majority in both places to overturn that veto. But I think it's important to say that it is a sort of, it's a bit of a flame in the wind, if you like. It's a bit of an indication of the way things are going, that increasing numbers of Republicans are starting. Some of them are critics and have been critics for some time, but not all of them. But they are starting to sort of flex their muscles a little bit. And Iran, as well as a few other areas that we've talked about over the last few weeks, namely that huge sort of slush fund that the president was proposing. But Iran is one of those areas where they are starting to say, hold on a minute. And that's a sign, I think, perhaps, that they are looking towards the end of a Trump presidency.
Gary, thank you. Whether you're joining us on YouTube, on TikTok, Sounds, radio or TV, thanks so much for your time. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the Iran War Today.